Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. We're having a look at the suggestions past the developers, and now we have the naval and the helicopter stuff. There's only one helicopter one, so I thought I'd tag it into the naval stuff, since there's not really much point in making it its own video. So, let's have a look at the naval stuff, and also the helicopter stuff. Why not? The first vehicle is the USS Wichita, which is part of the Wichita class heavy cruisers. The Wichita was a unique heavy cruiser designed for the United States Navy during the era of the London Naval Treaty. She was ordered in 1934, laid down on the 28th of October 1935, launched on the 16th of November 1937, and commissioned on the 16th of February 1939. The London Naval Treaty of 1930 limited the USN to 18 heavy cruisers of 10,160 tons each, and the USS Wichita would be the 18th and final heavy cruiser in this displacement allowance. Originally intended to be a New Orleans-class ship, the design of Wichita was instead based on the Brooklyn-class light cruiser. The design was heavily modified with an increased freeboard, range, and also improved stability. In essence, Wichita was a Brooklyn but with heavier guns. The main battery of 3 8.8-inch turrets was a result of fixes and improvements applied to the previous 8-inch turrets. The secondary battery of 8 single 5-inch guns was standard for a cruiser, with half in enclosed Mark 30 mounts and the other half in open mounts. By the time she was completed in 1937, she was found to be almost over the displacement limit set by the treaty, so she was launched with only 2 of the 8 5-inch guns. After normalization, and upon installing the rest of the guns, she was found to be top-heavy, and so 203.6 tons of iron had to be added to the bottom of the cruiser for balance. As the USN's final heavy cruiser under the treaty limits, Wichita was poised to be the pinnacle of US cruiser development, and as a provisional design in the case of war. Wichita would come to be the direct forerunner to the Baltimore class, which were designed after the breakdown of the naval treaty system. Wichita's first assignment after commissioning was to Houston, Texas, to take part in the dedication of the San Jacinto Monument, leaving Houston on the 1st of May 1939, then being assigned to Cruiser Division 7 on the 25th of September 1939, a few weeks after the outbreak of the war. On the 7th of December 41, when the US was brought into the Second World War, Wichita was anchored in Fjalldjur in Iceland. On the 26th of March 42, Wichita departed the United States as part of Task Force 39 to reinforce the Royal Navy in Scapa Flow. And after a few convoy escorts, Wichita would escort convoy PQ-17, but didn't take part in the ensuing battle. In November of 42, Wichita would take part in Operation Torch, participating in the naval battle of Casablanca. During the battle, among other things, Wichita would engage the French battleship, the Jean Bert. The Wichita would then be assigned to the Pacific in 43, when she would remain for the rest of the war. She was assigned to Task Force 18, where she would participate in the Battle of Rennell Island. There, she was hit by one torpedo, but it failed to explode. She participated in various other operations in the Pacific, being present at Saipan, Guam, the Philippines, Okinawa, and many others. The Wichita would end the Second World War with 13 battle stars. Next we have the HMS Erebus, which is part of the Erebus class, and it is a monitor class, which is kind of fun. The Erebus class was a redesign of the previous Marshall Ney monitors, carrying significant overall improvements. And on the 29th of September 1915, the Royal Navy ordered 2 over her class be built by Harland and Wolff, then named simply as Yard No. 492 and 493, being renamed to Erebus and the Terror on the 13th of October. The Erebus was completed and launched on the 19th of June 1916. Entering service in the First World War, Erebus performed bombardment duties against German naval forces based at the Belgian ports of Ostend and Zeebrugge. On the 28th of October in 17, Erebus was damaged by a remote-controlled German FL boat, seeing significant but ultimately dismissible damage to her anti-torpedo bulge being repaired after her duties. In 1919, HMS Erebus took part in the British invasion of Russia, providing gunfire support in the White and Baltic Sea, and in 21, Erebus took part in gunnery trials against the surrendered German battleship the Baden. Afterwards, she served as a gunnery training ship during the interwar period. After a 1939 refit completed in August, she was earmarked as guard ship at Cape Town, how she was reassigned at the start of the Second World War. In the early years of the Second World War, Erebus served with the Eastern Mediterranean Fleet, where she ran supplies to besieged troops in Tobruk and bombarded enemy concentration positions. During the Japanese attack on Trincomalee Harbor, Erebus, receiving a near miss from a Japanese aircraft, suffered casualties. In 1943, she was damaged while bombarding Sicily during its respective Allied invasion. Erebus was also used for coastal bombardment during the Normandy landings on the 6th of June 1944, firing at the coastal batteries at Barfleur and La Pernelle, suffering one 15-inch gun destroyed due to a premature explosion of a high-explosive round in the bore. On the 10th of August 1944, she was used against the defenders of the harbour at Le Havre. She was damaged by the battery at Claude de Rong and returned to Britain for repairs. In November 1944, she supported Operation Infatuate, the amphibious assault on Valcheren in the Netherlands. Erebus was scrapped in July 1946. Parts of her were salvaged and reused. It is believed that one of Erebus's 15-inch guns was used to equip the HMS Vanguard, the Royal Navy's last battleship. We also had the battleship of the IGN, the ICE, or the ICER, or however you want to say it. We already have it in the game. It's the 1941 variant. This one specifically is asking for the modification in 1944, which has increased AA. So it would have 4 dual-mounted 356mm cannons, 8 dual-mounted 127s, 31 triple-mounted 25mm, and 11 single-mounted 25s, plus 6 28 120mm anti-aircraft rocket launchers, and then also a bunch of radars on it too. So basically just a modernization of the IGN ICER to be able to deal with aircraft. For France, we have a Trident class, the modern Patra. The 1950s in France saw the modernization of their entire fleet and the renewal of the French naval industry. Escorts and destroyers, AA ships, and aircraft carriers were slowly bringing back French-made equipment into the Marine Nationale, most relying on foreign, American, or British-made equipment since the end of the war. The French coast were guarded by new military 400-ton coastal escorts of the Adroit class. However, they were limited to military operations and liaison, and it was obvious that they needed smaller ships for more local, efficient surveillance. This surveillance was done until the end of the 1960s by the American-made coastal mine layers of the MSC series, the Type D. However, those ships became old and obsolete quite fast, as the Navy needed faster, smaller ships to cover the vast areas of the French EEZ, especially around their islands in the Pacific, the Caribbean, or even the Indian Ocean. Following the satisfying results of the experimental patrol boat, the P-730 La Combattante, it was decided to create similar patrol boats. Those were the Patra, or Patrouille Rapide, which means rapid patrol ships. The first of the 4 Patras to enter production was the Trident in 1975. At the time, they belonged to the French Navy, as they were the ones responsible for most of the coastal surveillance in France. Those ships were meant to carry multiple kinds of missions, which were these: the nuclear riposte, the defense of the French naval holds, defense of the Dom Tom, which is the French islands, and also high sea operations. It also included search and rescue, as well as training and exercises with the special forces of the Navy. The Trident was sent to the Caribbean in December of 1976 and immediately started working, mostly facing illegal immigration and also drug trafficking. Soon, she's followed by the Pertusan, which is the Partisan, and the Glaive, which is the Gladius, which are both assigned to the North Sea, and equipped to face the cold of the northern Atlantic climate. The last one, being built by another shipyard, is the Epi, or the Sword, and it's sent to Mayotte, near Madagascar, the same year. At the time, being still military vessels, they're heavily armed for their roles. The most distinguishing feature between the 6 SS-12, being the 6 SS-12 anti-ship missiles on each side of the cabin. During those years, as Navy vessels, their biggest catch was probably the Sea Rover, a cargo ship belonging to an international drug gang. We can also mention the Glaive, which towed a crashed British plane near the Cascade Islands. Starting 1986, however, the ships were slowly replaced by the P-400 new high-tech patrol vessels, and as such, all of them, along with the Combattant, were given the Gendarmerie Maritime, which becomes the main coast guards of France. They are then stripped of most of their weaponry, aside from the 50 cals, and used as coast guard vessels. Although most of them have retired in the end of the 90s, the Glaive was still used until 2015, which then was eventually replaced. Their main armament was one 40mm Casse MLE 1951, which is the French variant of the 40 L60 Boffa, one 12.7mm Browning M2 machine gun, or two, depending on which year, and then 6 SS-12M anti-ship missiles. And then for helicopters, we had the GG-SDF UH-2 utility helicopter. The UH-2 is a new utility helicopter developed as a successor to the UH-1J and based on the Subaru-Bell 412 EPX. The first production aircraft made its first flight on the 19th of May 2022, and it's expected that 152 helicopters will be acquired by the end of the financial year of 2028. The UH-2 can be equipped with a MORS, an RWR, and CMD as options, thus providing high survivability. It's armed with a Type 87 mine dispersal system and a door gun, and may, in the future, be able to get access to rocket pods. As always, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank GMG Smiley, CD Beans, Chieftain Mike, EMN3 Galaxy, Tulio Pontecorvo, Brendan Quinn, Carrion Crow, Gus Irenicus, Pyman, Wartinder, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, Martinez, B. Young, Ozzy Panzer, Alan Hacker, Liam Shear, Opium Prime, Lafouche, Sem Aslan, Uncle Bean, and Derek R. for supporting the channel.